Asians if I heard this clickety clack thing in the background, like when I asked that calculation, clack 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 clack. People got their abacuses out. So what's 6 million divided by 50,000? $120 per person. $120 that's kind of reasonable.
Very.
So let's go around. I mean, so a lot of people, they spend more than that just to have, well, Thinker probably spends more than that just to have a sim every month.
Oh, well, obviously,
Yeah.
sim
Wait,
card.
wait.
Okay.
Wait a minute. How many people do you know have alts and they're on at the same time, double log, triple log? So it might be really there's 30,000 people here.
Could
and
be.
they all have 2 or 3 alts.
Yeah, that could be.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
How many of you have alts?
I have alts, but I have alts, but I don't use them at the same time as this avatar is on because that means using another computer.
Okay.
It's not a question of how many people are here. It's not a question of how many people are on Second Life. What I've always found interesting is not how many people are on Second Life, but how many of those people have multiple personalities and they're living it out in Second Life. I think we've got a lot of people that are undiagnosed multiple personalities.
Personality disorder.
Are different personalities.
Oh, gosh. Well, there you go. There we go. But I'm changed.
How many people are really all here?
Yeah. Some people are here. They're just not really here, if you know what I mean. You know, a little toking up here and there. Anyway, the show started. I am your host, CatBoy Kahuna. Welcome to Lauren's Live for the evening. I'll be your host. We have at least 3 comedians and no musicians, so we can just fool around, do whatever the hell we want to tonight without any formulas whatsoever. Now, I'm going to get started on the weather, which is just being a bugger right now. How many people here are in places like Boston or just anywhere that's buried in a heap of snow? Who here? Because we have a lot of people, lucky bastards, that are living in the South that don't have to put up with that, like bubble pop.
I'm in Texas.
You're in Texas.
75 today.
Yep,
75.
Me too. Great weather.
No one here is buried in snow because I know that Dr. Fran, who's not here, and Haley, who's also not here. A lot of people from around there. North of the border, Casey's Canadian, aren't you? Casey's Canadian. Yep. Okay. Well, you're buried in it wherever you are. There's no such thing as a place in Canada that doesn't have snow right now. We don't have any colonies down south like everybody else. How come Canada doesn't have any colonies? I guess we're just too polite. You know, like we sent out explorers and we would find some islands like, oh, sorry, natives are already here. So sorry, we're leaving. So sorry. Did you hear that Canada, we bombed Iraq last week. We bombed ISIS. We dropped bombs. We got airplanes. You know them as F-18s. We call them CF-18s. Try to take a big guess what the C stands for. Canadian, yeah. Well, Canuck. But I read this really beautiful comment on Reddit. I love this. An American said this on Reddit. And he said, if Canada, of all people, is bombing you, you need to take a good hard look at yourself and ask, am I being a giant dick? I absolutely love that. So Canada, we're sort of being we're the Obi-Wan Kenobi right now. It's like, ISIS, you don't want to sell me death sticks right now. You want to go home and rethink your life. You need to do that. But I guess nobody watched that episode of Star Wars. I don't blame you. It was actually really terrible. But speaking of terrible, the snow is just getting unbelievably bad out here. And the problem is not really just the volume. It's that whatever is falling, like the snow that fell a month ago, none of that has melted because the temperature's never gone above like -10 in the past month or so. So whatever snow that falls, it just hangs around. And it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And I have a pile of snow in front of my house that is almost 8 feet high in some places. Now that means when you're driving down the street, if you're in just a normal sized car, you're not in some great big tall SUV, you actually cannot see people's houses. it looks like you're sort of driving down the Star Wars trench, except it's made out of snow. Like, try to imagine that. That's literally how bad it is. And if the snow pile gets any higher, the city's going to send an inspector and ask me if I have a permit for this. It's going to get really, really bad. I had a friend on Twitter today, and he said to me, I really hate it when I post something and people just make one-word replies. And I said, agreed. Anyway, who here watched the Grammys last weekend? I didn't. I have to admit, I thought they're kind of boring. I'm not a big fan of award shows. I will watch I'll watch the big ones like the Academy Awards, but the Grammys don't really speak to me. But what I heard from a lot of people who did watch the Grammys, and this was turning up, was that the Grammy interrupted their little show to bring a message about making a stance against domestic abuse. I'm sitting there going, the Grammys does this? Okay, the people who nominated Chris Brown for 3 awards, who beats women. The people who nominated Eminem, who wrote a song about how much he would like to beat his mom. Or how about the entire hip-hop category that has an entire musical genre that extols the virtues of beating women? And these people are making a message about putting an end to domestic abuse. By the way, I also heard in Las Vegas, the porno awards, the double penetration 3-way category paused for a moment to provide a public service announcement about providing safe sex. Which is followed up by Charlie Sheen, who got on stage and he preached using moderation and drugs and alcohol consumption. Good Lord. What else has been going on? Pearly just arrived. Hello, Pearly.
Hi, Pearly.
Pearly has got a gorgeous mesh dress on. When you make mesh work for you, it looks really good, doesn't it? I mean, I cannot get a mesh to fit like that on me unless I make it myself. And I keep saying I got to figure out how to do that someday. I never get around to it. But anyway, in the news, I was watching. Has anyone heard what happened with Brian Williams? Does anyone remember what is he with NBC or CBS?
He's with
NBC.
NBC. He's with NBC. And, well, of course, he's in a lot of trouble because he made something up about his little personal experience in Iraq. Like, who doesn't have a relative that, any war veteran just sort of sprinkles their stories a little bit here and there? I mean, everyone must have done this. But they're making such a
rain
big...
shower.
Yeah.
He's a newsman.
He's a newsman. And a lot of people are making a real big deal out of this. And there's news agencies all across America, and not just one or two, all of them. They're preoccupied about people making up bullshit about Iraq. Well, I wish they were that concerned about somebody making up bullshit about Iraq about, 12 years ago. Before. Why they're so preoccupied now, I don't know. But you know what? This is something that could backfire on them immensely, because if you're going to go after somebody else about credibility, you know what NBC is doing right now? Saying, you want to play this game? That's fine, because there's a lot of blame to go around. We're not the only ones out here that are bullshitting. They're going to go after them, and it's going to become this giant head-pissing marathon about who's got
watching that.
Yeah, I think, I would enjoy watching that. I'm not saying people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. But Fox News is chucking boulders inside a greenhouse that's turning on the edge of a cliff. And that greenhouse is on fire. The fire was started by Bill O'Reilly's pants because he's been bullshitting for 20 years.
I had trouble getting off.
That's what they both said.
Nobody actually has to admit that in Second Life, folks.
You're right. Just press the button. Did you fake it last week? Well, I wasn't really pressing the button. I was just fiddling with the mouse. Anyway, we have Valentine's coming up. I got a couple of Valentine's joke for you. I had a friend the other day, and he had this old pop song It was a love song stuck in his head. He was trying to remember what it was, and I asked him, "Do you remember what it was about?" And he said, "Well, it was short. It was a short song back in the '90s. It was really popular, and it was about this Russian guy named Vladislav. Vladislav. It's really confusing. I said, "Well, could you like sing some of it, and I'll try to remember?" And he said, "Vladislav, baby, don't hurt me no more." Anyone remember that one? I guess I have to be a better singer for that.
Ooh.
Ooh. You know what? That deserves a poo. Give me another one. Give me another one. Okay, now every year I do this one thing, but it's sort of like a tradition for me. It showed up on Twitter, and that is Valentine's Day. You know those little tiny candies that have messages on them? Here's a list I got from Twitter of rejected candy hearts, which I'm going to read off for you. Some of them are mine, some of them are from people on Twitter. I tried to arrange the best ones I could find. Here's some familiar ones you probably heard before, like, "You'll do." Little candy heart, "You'll do," or "I'll settle for you." Pretty difficult to fit this one on one candy. "Restraining order." Or something a little more modern, "Error 404. "Gimp me." Now here's something you've probably seen on Hearts. It's a slight variation of that. "Tunnel of Just Friends." Now here's one that came out back in 2008, I think it was. It said, "Vote Romney." And here's one that's really romantic. "Are you a cop?" Cop, right? You got to say if you're a cop, right? It's like, no, they don't. Oh, here's one. Very, very romantic parting of ways. "The money's on the dresser." That's really hard to fit. Does anyone see Silence of the Lambs? I like this one. "Put the lotion in the basket." "Turn it over, or else you get the hose again." Oh, here's one that I got the other day. This one I actually got. "Friend zoned." Well, here's one I wish I would get. Here we go. "Be my fleshlight." And here's a little candy they give away in bars. It's just made to make people feel a little more comfortable about being there. It says, "Not a roofie." Not a roofie. It's like, "You tested positive." Was anyone on Twinder? This is this little candy heart says, "I'm swiping left." That's a Tinder one. Anyone? No one on Twitter? You gotta be on Tinder.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of Tinder? Okay. Boo. Yeah, these are not really getting laughs. How about "Can you cook?" Can you cook? And here's the second part of that one. "Can you cook meth?" Now this one doesn't really get the really popular prize. You might be surprised. It says, "I'm really a dude." Yeah, that's the one I give away. That's the one I have to give away. And this one's the most romantic one of the lot. "Get in a van." Yeah, that van's the one you see around. It says "free candy" that's spray painted on the side. And that's all I have for those. I don't think I'll be bringing that back next year. I think that's a tradition. It's best left to die. Okay, now there was another one that came up on Twitter. Some of these can be a hit, but not always. And that's like when they try to screw around with things, like, can you make Star Wars, like popular movie titles, you alter the title a little bit. And here's one that came out. It's like, "Replace one letter to ruin a TV show." Now, when I'm going to go through this, let's see if you can come up with your own while I'm going through this. Like, try to think of a TV show from the past. What can you do to just completely make it into something totally different just by changing a single letter in that TV show? Like, think of this one. "Gilligan's Inland." They're on a peninsula. You know, they could just walk home. Or "Three Companies." You know, there's Intel, IBM, and the other one. How about "Dr. Wu"? He's a practitioner. Or this one really changes this show. The Wanking Dead.
Lust in Space. I like that one.
Oh, Lust in Space. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yep. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Love
Jersey.
Bloke. We got some good ones.
Okay. Here's one that didn't really change the show too much. Jersey Whore. Kind of the same show still, isn't it? You know. Meth Busters. The $6 Million Pan. It's a cooking show. Very expensive. You guys got one? Any more from you guys? Happy Days. These days are fun. How about the Flesh Prince of Bel-Air? He goes over to Bel-Air and he becomes a pimp. Okay, I'm going to let that one die. That's not really getting good laughs. But you guys came up with some good ones. So we'll have a little bit of audience.
Yeah.
They were all right. Now, let's see. It's almost 8:30. Did Bubble Pop make it back? Bubble Pop here? All right. Well, looks like we made it through the whole show. There's just one last thing. I want to give a parting gift to everybody. It's a wonderful little romance story that goes with Valentine's Day. To anyone here, Charles Manson and a lady that's serving in another insane asylum for murder or some other thing, they were getting married. Charles Manson was marrying a lady who was doing time for murder in another insane asylum, but unfortunately the wedding's been called off. Apparently, Charles Manson found out that the lady intended that when Manson died before her, because he's much older than she is, Manson found out that when he died, the lady intended to stuff his body, put it on display, and make money with it. Oh my God. Good thing he found out she was crazy before he got in there, eh? That's all for tonight, everybody. Thanks for coming. That's the show.
Cover the whole thing.
Woo! We made it. That's the whole hour.
Excellent.
We're just short of a bing bong. Where's the bing bong? The bing bong makes it official. The bong, bong. By the way, has anyone ever been anywhere, let's say like Builder's Brewery or Sandbox, and they're just about to reboot the sim, and you get that huge-ass gong thing go off, and it scares the living shit out of you? Has anyone had to go through that?
No, I always
Well,
run
actually,
as soon as I see it.
No, I get this. Well, apparently it's in Firestorm. You get this like the noticing. There it is. There's the gong. But the gong I hear when they reboot a sim, there's this yellow thing that comes up that's warning you it's going to reboot in about 3 minutes. And it's this massive gong that's as loud as a freight train hitting your front door. It just scares the bejesus out of me.
Well, your whole world shakes.